What's going on, everybody? It's Matt, aka the Lumberjack Landlord. Super excited to be here with you on Sunday morning. Easy enough for me to say. Sorry, boot camp went 3 hours last night. Might get a little tongue-tied today, but that's all right. It is all well worth it. So super excited to have you here. In case for those of you who are new to the channel and don't know, I am the Lumberjack Landlord. 137 units, 50 buildings. Been doing this for over 20 years. And I self-manage all my own properties. And that's what I teach people how to do. So today's topic is riches are in the niches. I think one of the interesting things in most people's journeys as real estate investors is in the very beginning, what they're looking to do is get into real estate investing. And so it comes down to some really simple kind of the tent poles of doing and getting into the business, which are, how to buy a property, and then how to manage a property, and how to evaluate rents and how to evaluate the area. A lot of those things are the things that are taught in a lot of the different courses that are out there. I think the key to this is that in order to get to elite, you go through all of those steps. And the riches in the niches is really more of an advanced concept. It's not really a beginner's concept. However, if you can understand these advanced concepts much closer to the beginning of your journey, there are things that you'll watch out for as you start on your journey that will make things easier, that will get you more successful faster. So what I wanted to give you this morning was a couple examples of riches in the niches story. So it's really interesting because a lot of times the first and foremost thing that we're all trying to do when we first get into real estate investing is have a successful investment. And in order to have a successful investment, what does that really look like? What it really looks like is being able to buy a good house for a great price with a great rate, and more importantly, show cash flow on a monthly basis. That's what we're all looking for when we really start. I think what's really interesting is that as we look for that when we do start, the key to this is understanding more than what you would generally understand or what all of your competition understands. That's why it's called a niche, and that's why there's riches there, is because if you look at real estate brokers as an example, 80% of them are kind of all the same, and then 15% of them are kind of that next level, and then 5% of them are that next level, right? And so it's the same thing when it comes to real estate investing. You have kind of all the people in that 80%. And while you want to get good and competent at that 80%, the real goal isn't to stay in the 80. It's not even to get to the 15. It's to get into the 5. And the 5 isn't the biggest. It's not about size. Size in this case does not matter. It's really about how you are operationally and what you understand about your business that gets you the greatest returns on capital. The ROC, R-O-C, return on capital. And that's where the riches and the niches are. So here's one example. One example is there was a property that was being sold. And I was in on this property. I really liked the property. And it was something that I said, you know what? This property is a great property. It's perfect. It's exactly my profile. I love these duplexes. This is what I love to buy. And so the cool thing is that's what I love to buy. And that's what really fit well. So based on that, I made my offer. We put a deal together, but really understanding my reverse offer strategy, which is hugely paramount to success, especially in hot markets. But and the other thing too is it's pretty good in cold markets too, because you actually can find out what they're looking for and try and get a deal done. But in putting that deal together, one of the interesting things was I looked at the zoning. This is something that new agents or newer or average agents don't look at. This is also something that average homeowners or home buyers don't look at. So the agents aren't really looking at it. The buyers aren't really looking at it. But you know what? Good investors are. Good investors are absolutely looking at zoning. So when I looked at it and I said, oh, that's interesting. This is a CBD zone, which is a centralized business district. And that allows for opportunity for growth within the property. What was interesting was all of my competition, not one person asked any questions when I asked the broker, the listing broker. I said, has anybody said anything about the zoning? She's like, nope. She wasn't local, so she didn't understand what our zoning was. She was actually a great agent. She was very highly productive and nice to work with, but she could have gotten a lot more for the property. When I recognized that it was CBD zoning, I said, that's really interesting. That's cool because that should allow me to get an ADU out of the property fairly easily. Instead of going through a very complex variance process, it actually was going to allow me to do something called a CUP, which is essentially a change in use. It's called a CUP because it stands for change use permit. It's something that can be permitted without going through an extensive and very expensive variance process. And quite frankly, variance processes often end up in failure. So what was really cool for us was we made this offer. What was really interesting was I made the offer, bought the property, immediately got it rented out for some folks. But what was most, I guess the coolest thing about the deal is that when I started to go through my approvals in that CUP to get an ADU added, they actually said, this isn't CBD, this is CBD-G. Kid you not, these things really exist. I looked that up and it starts, what you'll find in a lot of these zoning books is it starts referencing other pages. It's kind of like one of those murder mysteries when we were reading those books as kids that said, hey, I want to do this, go to page 37, or do this and go to page 83. And then you find out what your next step in the adventure is. These zoning books are a lot like that. It's like, go to this page and look at this piece and it's these sections apply, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. So a lot of times I'll read that stuff to just generally familiarize myself with it, but then I go down to the town. So I go down to the town, have a conversation with them. And here's the funny thing is CBD would normally let me add an ADU. A CBD-G doesn't let me add an ADU. So I'm like, well, I'm sure I have at least the base of what would let me add a unit or two. It might just be different or have different requirements. So I start doing some research and we find out that this is one of very few lots in the entire city. There's a CBD-G. If there's a few of something, does that make it more valuable? Largely speaking, yes. So I start going through the process and here's what I find. I'm actually able to put together a CUP, which is a change of use permit, instead of a variance. And I can actually build a 5-story building on that same lot, which is completely weird. But going into it, I expected it was going to be one thing. I expected it was going to be a CBD and that I could add an ADU and that was all going to be good. I didn't realize that there was on the listing sheet that she didn't actually have the -G, that she missed the -G. Look at the -G, do that with the city, do that with the town, go through that process. So guess what ends up happening? I can now build a 5-story building there. Is that building lot worth significantly more than what I paid for the property? Yep. So when I talk about riches being in the niches, where did that really come from? It really came from my understanding my market, but more importantly, it went me going the next level. I didn't just look at the house. I didn't just look at what's my return on capital on, redoing the house or updating the house and then, getting the thing rented. I didn't look at any of those things because I know what those things are naturally. And that's where you'll get someday as you continue in your journey, you get really fluid at what you're doing. And the reason I call it fluid is it's like water, right? It finds a path of least resistance and it gets its optimal outcome with it, which is flow, that cash flow. So when we look at riches being in the niches, this is a perfect example of understanding that if you go those next steps, right, the 80% are just looking at the house, its area, the return that they're going to get on it. And they're not thinking anything more than that. If you want extraordinary results, you must do extraordinary things, which is extraordinary, right? Extraordinary. Ordinary is the 80%. And while the 80%, that's fine. They can grind it out. They'll do their thing. But if you want extraordinary returns, and if you want extraordinary journey, you have to do extraordinary things. And is it really that aggressive to be looking at zoning? Is it really that aggressive to be taking just a few extra steps to really understand the asset that you have under contract? It really isn't. And so what I would encourage you guys to understand is understanding that riches are in the niches. I have hundreds of these stories, literally hundreds. And it's because I was willing to take a little bit more time, do a little bit more work, do a little bit more research, and actually unearth the value. What I talk about with different assets is the yield of those assets. Am I optimizing that yield? Am I optimizing it? Am I getting the very most that I possibly can? So there's the concept of stabilization, where I talk about acquisition, stabilization, and optimization. Acquisition, obviously acquiring the asset. If you're acquiring the asset, it should be a decent asset at a decent price with decent returns, right? That's kind of a given. The stabilization is, okay, now that I bought it, I want to make sure I repair some of the things that the old landlord didn't take care of, and make sure that I'm understanding and meeting the new tenants, understanding how they are, do they pay on time, are they easy to work with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then I go through those processes, right? I think the cool thing is that the next step, optimization, that's where almost no landlords get to. They get it to a serviceable rental and they believe that they've checked the box, and they're getting 8% returns, 7% returns, 6% returns. Almost every deal that I touch, year one, I'm in the teens for return on capital, in the teens. By second and third years, I'm in the 20s. Why? Because I've gone through the acquisition phase, the stabilization phase. Now I'm in the optimization phase. When we talk about riches being in the niches, optimization of your asset is really critically important. When we look at optimizing our assets, we're looking at things like the toilet that's in the building. We're looking at things like, okay, we've got a kitchen in there that we can upgrade. What do we do to upgrade it? And how do we do it at a much lower cost? These are all of the things that I do and that I teach in my course. I'm a landlord, now what? Those are all things that are in the course that we teach. The reason that these things are of critical importance is because it's going to take you, if you're in that not invested yet group, or you're just investing now, it's going to help get you from that 80% into the 15%. It's all of these systems and processes and ways of engaging tenants and managing the units that we teach people how to go from here to the 15%. Now, if you're willing to put in the work, we can get you to the 5, because I'm in the 5. I'm probably in the 1. I'm probably in the top 1% of how we manage our portfolio and our returns. And this is really of critical importance, right? This is kind of off the charts for us because, man, I'm very popular this morning. Don't they know I'm doing a monologue? Damn it. Actually, it's almost over. A couple minutes. So when we look at this stuff, it really is important to recognize that all of these investors, 80% of them, are never going to get out of that. Don't get stuck there. If you're not investing yet, or you are planning to invest, yeah, the absolute best opportunity for you guys is to take a course like mine, recognize all the things that we've done to become elite, and then we share all of those things with you, and you take and you leave the stuff that works for you or that you might work for you. However, I know there is no doubt in my mind, there's not one person that's taken my course that 30 days later doesn't say they changed the way that they do business in a number of ways and it's made them more profitable. This is what I know. That is why I did the course. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. As I always try and tell you, we always want to create great content for you. Easy for me to say. See, the tongue tying has already begun, but we always try and create great content for you. So please make sure that you hit that like button. And, as always, we'll see you in the next one. Now, that being said, we are here for our live stream today. I'm super excited to be hanging out with you guys this morning. Clearly, somebody's very popular this morning. One of them is an ex-tenant, and she can kind of pound sand. Yeah, because now she's no longer a tenant. I no longer have to talk to her anymore. And she was a huge, colossal tool bag, and happy to see she's gone. Happy to, not ever have to talk to her again. So that being said, let's jump into the questions and see how everyone's doing this morning. Again, guys, anybody that was in the boot camp last night, absolutely phenomenal session. I think we had 12 folks in the boot camp last night. I understand it's busy and people have busy lives and trying to get in and out of the boot camps. Totally get that. But it was an awesome session, 3 hours. We covered a ton of stuff, quite frankly, in all brutal honesty, stuff that I would never cover on YouTube, not in a million years. We need the permission to speak freely in that course, and really be able to give people our experiences so they can choose what to do from there. I always share my story, share my reasoning, share exactly how I did it, what I did, the way I did it. And then it's up to you to see, does this fit the way I want to do this? Does this apply to this piece? And I think the key for us is, somebody said something last night, I believe it was Chris. Chris, thank you for attending the boot camp last night. Chris said something last night. He said, I've gone through my portfolio and I'm doing about 50% of the things that you say that we should do. I said, I'll take that. That's fantastic. And are you seeing returns on that? Absolutely. Returns are great. Awesome. And he said, I want to get to where I believe I'm going to be about 85% of the way you do things. Awesome. Hey, some people will do it 100. Some people do it 75. Some people do it 50. Some people might only do it 25%. It might only change 2 or 3 things in your business. But would you pay $1,500 to change 2 or 3 things in your business that are going to make you 100 times that over a 10-year period? That's the brilliance, right? That's the beautiful thing. We never know when we're going to hear that next thing that completely changes our entire portfolio, or just changes a small portion of our portfolio that makes us just a little bit better, but that was worth its weight in gold and pays us 10x or 20x or 100x or 500x over the course of time. That's really where the value is. All right, so Dividend Dave, you're first. I don't even have to start over. This is a good morning. This is a good morning, Dividend Dave. Hyder, good morning, Hyder. And again, crush the like button on the way in. Thank you, everybody. Well, the Wealth Building Journey, Chester, good morning. Frank Contreras, good morning. Wandering Doc, good morning. Wandering Doc, wandering the world as a real estate investor. And Doc. Laura Samaniego, good morning. All-Nighter Hyder, good morning, good morning. Bobby Simpson, good morning. Jesse Thomas, good morning. Wandering Doc, very true. I started with condos in Hawaii. The niche was knowing only few areas they cash flowed in. It's exactly right. And I think the key, right, and it's not to diminish, that's the most important thing, is that they cash flow. But the key is, how do you then manage that business to stabilize it and then optimize it to get better returns than anyone else is getting, allegedly doing the same thing? And that's by going from the 80% to the 15% to the 5%. That's what the difference is. Invest to Wealth, good morning. Look up, let the bacon burn. Mr. Matt's matinee. Thank you, sir. Matt B, digging up the CBD gold. Yeah, true story. Yeah, and again, that zoning, I mean, I went into it, knowing it was CBD. I'm like, no, that's good. I can get a whole nother unit there. It won't be, and I don't have to go through a variation or a variance. I can literally just do a CUP, which is a change of use permit. And those are a whole lot easier to get, because that's an easy approval. With a variance, in most state codes and in most city codes, you have to prove a hardship. Do you know how hard it is to prove a hardship by means of the law? It is very hard to prove a hardship by means of the law. Very hard. So when it goes through a CUP, that's really just, you don't have to prove a hardship. You can just prove that it can be a better use. That's a much, much, much lower burden. That's why for me, that dash G was awesome. But I thought with the CBD, I thought, yeah, we're probably pretty good. It made it even better. And I said to them, I go, are you kind of mad that you won't let me build an ADU there now? And she chuckled and she goes, I mean, it is what it is. And I was like, I completely agree that it is what it is. And now I'm going to look at building a 5-story building. No joke. No joke. That lot tripled in value. It tripled in value by zoning. Now, some people said I overpaid for that asset. Some people said I overpaid. Maybe they should read zoning. Hopefully they're not watching my channel, because I don't want to compete with them. And I don't want to compete with them with my rules in the market, in my market, or the market that I do business in. All-Nighter Hider, give your wife an easement rights written correctly, and there is no need to apply for variance with easement rights. It's a settled matter. That's right. That is true. Trying to remember which, that was not my most recent water. That was my most recent water. Yeah, Hyder with the marriage counseling. Sam, Sean, and Wendy, good morning. Glad to have you guys back. Hope you had a great trip. There he is, Dion. 2 days, 2 days, 2 days, and Dion and I are together. I'm looking forward to it very much, my friend. It's going to be awesome. I think he's here for a week. I've got 2 days of business, Wednesday and Thursday, but I'm back Thursday night. So I'm super excited to hang out and do a lot of fun stuff together. Phil Nealon, thanks for the Sunny Show. Phil Nealon, one of the hardest working men out there in real estate investing and in construction. Good to have you here, my friend, as always. Mike Diaz, do you have any restrictions on drugs on your rental agreement? What about smoking inside? Great question, Michael. I do. I don't permit smoking inside our units. The reason that I don't permit it is because it's smoking, period. Right? I don't care if you're a smoker. I don't care what you're smoking. I don't care. You just can't do it in my property. And here's the reason why. That smell, no matter how good the insulation is, no matter how good the place is, it's going to permeate into other units in apartments or duplexes. It's going to smell in the other space. And the neighbor didn't sign up for that. And the other thing too is I tell them, hey, this is great news. You don't have to worry about anything smell coming from your next door neighbors. This is a beautiful thing. So I actually make my leases are non-smoking. You cannot smoke in my units, period, end of story. You can smoke outside if you choose to. So I don't say non-smokers, I say non-smoking units. It must be outside. As far as drugs go, the way that we cover drugs in our lease is we just say that you have to observe and live by the laws of the state of New Hampshire for us. That means if you're smoking something like that, or if we find that you're doing drugs or something like that occurs, that's something that we can give you a violation for. Yep. And then we have language in our lease that speaks to, hey, first violation, you get a warning. Second one is means for eviction. So that usually then cleans it up for us. But yeah, that's a great question. Wandering Jock, Ryan is an expert at this. That's Hyder. LOL, from what I understand, easement rights can only be given by the title holder, but not to the title holder. Wife or kids are good candidates. Excellent. Hey, Matt, Tony Rosa. Hey, Tony. New England Real Estate Discount. I love it. Good to see you, Tony. Good morning, Matt and everyone. Sam, good morning. REI Centers, morning, fellow and future landlords. Looks like both tenants are moving out, so we are looking as a chance to value add and up rents. First step, paint. What colors do you use, like liking sage green? REI Stoners, you're in the course. There is a color palette there. You'll see it. I actually talk about all the colors that we use. But personal favorite is I want contrasts. What simple designers do is they'll usually use kind of a base color and then an accent color and then another like third color that makes everything kind of really pop. So I do a Stone Harbor gray wall. I do ultra white trim, really super, super bright white trim. So it gives you this massive contrast between like the medium gray and the bright white. And then I'm able to add color in other areas. And those can be in, if we're staging a unit and showing something off, those can be in reds. It can be, we want to do the door in black or red or some really grabby color. And that's where you a lot of times see the variation in what we do, is because, if we have some of the same colors that neighbors have and things like that, we want a nice rich gray that gives us a nice good base color, then a nice bright white to make everything pop. And then we add a third color, which is that accent color. That's a separator. Sage green is nice. The problem is that you will have a lot of people that don't like sage green. You will have a percentage of people that don't like sage. It's the same thing as yellow. There's a lot of colors. The other thing too that you can learn, and this is probably going too in depth on colors, but there are like ADHD and things like that. There are conditions that certain colors actually are unrestful to the person and their condition. And so yellow is actually one of those colors. Yellow is not a soothing color. So we like to pick, muted, relaxing, like we use some blues, we use the gray, we use the bright white. You really want everything to be kind of soothing, right? And And then if you want that color, you get that pop in the color, but no one's looking at their front door 24/7. So they're like, oh my word, this place is purple, but it gives them that splash of color, right? It also differentiates them. It gives them a level of uniqueness that separates them from the rest of the market. These are kind of the cool things that we do that really separate us apart from all of the other, regular rehabbers in the space. They're two colors, they're no accents, they're not doing anything special. It's usually pretty boring, in all honesty. But yeah, so REI, so sage green is good. It's just one of those colors that you will have people that sometimes are turned off by that color, or their existing furniture doesn't match the sage green. That's what's awesome about the gray, is that there's almost nothing that people will bring into a space that doesn't match it. They can bring in a brown leather couch. They can bring in a green couch. They can bring in pretty much anything. And that can be the accent color. So it lets people still be individual in their selections. And so that's something that's really powerful as well. Give me just 1 second here. All right. So hopefully that answers that question. Where's Phil? Mike Diaz. Good morning. Good morning, Mike Diaz from Florida. Thanks for the super chat again. Wandering Duck. Yes, people often forget that this is a business. It is a business. It is a business. It is a job. And if it weren't a job, then fix your own light. Right? Is changing a light work? Yep. It's effort. It's activity. I'm being paid to do that. I still change some people's light bulbs. If you're a tenant and you have a light out and you want it fixed right away, grab the spare light bulb that I actually have there in the cabinet and fix it yourself. If you want me to do it, yes, I will get to it, but I will get to it after all the other items are addressed for everybody else, because that is not a mission critical thing. Kip, SOS Investments. Good morning, sir. Sorry to be late. No worries. Had a little plumbing water pipe break about 3 a.m. this morning. Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst. I assume it's all better now. All right. Let's see. REI donors. I'm chomping at the bit to get in there and start measuring, but thanks for linking us with Bob. We have a new accountant. Congratulations. He's fantastic. I hope that's a great journey for you. Again, we always share the people that we do business with, because if we're still doing business with them, it means they're really good at what they do. I am not up for working with people that I have to beg them to work for me, or kiss their ass to get something done, or they're not amazing at what they do. If you're not a lead at what you do, you don't work with me. It's pretty simple. But no, I'm glad that worked out for you. That's really great. And yeah, so the starting measuring thing. So REI, this is where, when you need to access the part of the course that talks about documenting your unit. Now is the time to do it. You're brand new. This is your first asset. So when you get in there, fully document your unit, just like we teach. When you fully document that unit, you are now in control of that asset for the rest of your owning it. When you go to sell that asset, if you ever do, you have a complete booklet. Here is everything about this unit. They will be extremely impressed by that, because 99.9% of landlords have nothing like that. Nothing. If you do these little extra things and you curate great experiences for your tenants, you will become an elite landlord. More importantly, you'll drastically increase your profitability. And if you ever go to sell, you know what sells for the most money? Perfectly documented, well curated, fully rented units with rents above market or at market. This is what we teach in the course. It's not the destination. It's the journey to the destination that we all have to be on to make sure we're optimizing our assets. That's the biggest key to this game, is optimization of those assets. Dear God, I'm getting so many freaking, what is going on here? No, I don't want to see more. Dear heavens. Oh my goodness, I got behind. Sorry, guys. Kenor, good morning. Robert, hey, Robert, how are you? Finally made a live stream for a change. Good to have you back, Robert. Good to have you back. HCH, good morning, Major Lumberjack Landlord. Good morning. Let's see. Keep up. What part of Florida? Wandering Doc. How many millionaires, multimillionaires, and future millionaires? Wandering Doc. Well said. Well said. Well said. And the question is, so for me, my biggest goal, you know, and what I always tried to aspire to get to was the 2 comma club. 2 comma club, which is makes you a millionaire. So it's a fun way of saying the millionaires club, right? 2 commas. The idea is, will I ever get to, or you can call it the 7-digit club or whatever. 7 digits is a whole lot easier. The comma club's tough because once you become a millionaire, the next comma comes at $1 billion. Not many people are going to hit that, especially if you're not a hedge fund guy. So the question is, you know, 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure club, that's cool. What's really funny is I'd say getting to the 7-figure club is, I'd say it's probably the hardest. Getting to the 7-figure club was probably the hardest. Getting to the 8-figure club was easier than getting to the 7-figure club, for sure. For sure. REI, yes, contrast. The floors are hardwood brown and thinking sage green would go well. So do this. Don't get weird with colors. It's the biggest mistake that landlords make is they get weird with colors, because they were like, we used to paint the different rooms different colors. Oh my word, was that stupid? That was just dumb. That was a waste of money. It was a waste of time. It was a waste of effort. It was a waste of energy. Try the repaints when people move out. It sucked even worse. I'm telling, so REI, you can be right on sage green, but when you get access, legit, when you get access, paint one wall Stone Harbor gray. Paint one wall sage green. Then put the white on it and see which one looks better. See which one makes you feel better. I think you'll be surprised. The key to these colors is picking a nice, easy palette that's also easy to repaint. You're going to have to repaint that stuff. And color changes are expensive. And rooms that I painted this color gray 15 years ago are still this color gray now, and people still love it. They still love the beautiful gray and white contrast. They do. And for those people online that I see them make fun of the gray and white, piss off. It's what tenants like, you jackasses. It's not about me. It's not like, oh my goodness, it has to be gray because I love gray. No, it's because the tenants love it. Almost nobody has an adverse effect or a adverse reaction, is better said, to walking into a room and seeing it's beautiful, crisp gray with bright white, with accent colors throughout the room. Almost nobody. Do I want to build my business based on everybody or based on that niche? I don't want to build it based on the niche. The niche is no, that's no, it's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. BF, the color charts are in the course. All the stuff that we talk about color-wise, because we really talk about color and as a design thing. It's not just here, these colors. It's really a design thing. Really, it's Stone Harbor gray and it's ultra pure white from Benjamin Moore. That's our color palette. And then the other accent colors that we use, those are the only things that vary. So if I paint a door purple, but I get a gallon of paint, guess what? I can repaint that thing 15 times, you know, but usually we want the tenants to add the color, right? We have the tenants add the color, whatever color couch they have, whatever color chair they have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have them add the color. That's what the furniture going in the room can be. It's them adding the color. That's the important and valuable part for sure. Let's see. Michael Diaz, I'm listening while installing floodlight. Deanne recommends in my first house hack. Very cool. Yeah, the motion detecting exterior lights are great. Yep, they're great. Michael Diaz, Central Florida. Sam Farho, you mentioned that if you get a call from a tenant complaining, you're right away tell them to send you an email with all their complaints. Then you said the email will help you in front of the judge. Can you explain a bit about that? So it's not send me a list of all your complaints. It's not that. I'm not inciting them for a bitch session. It is if things become difficult with the tenant. If I'm having a normal conversation and they say, hey, yeah, this is an issue, or they call and say, hey, yeah, this is an issue, say, okay, sounds good. We'll get somebody out there. For me, I'll send them a text back. In our state, small claims judges, they look at texts. They do. If we can print it out, they'll look at the text. And that's the key. You got to print it out. So I'm not trying to incite a bitch session from a tenant. What I'm trying to do is, if it's becoming confrontational, now I recognize that this could become a problem. So now I want them. So now when they're getting, ornery and difficult, I'll either say, hey, could you just send me that in an email so I can actually forward that on to somebody, right? Because I'm not going to come do all that. I'm not going to come do that myself. I'm going to forward it on to somebody to get it taken care of. Or when they call or leave a message, or when they send an email, I do respond back quickly. Hey, I did receive the message. Let me talk to some folks and see what the next step is and how I can get this done for you. That's often the path. That's often the progress is, as I see things escalate, then yes, I want to start getting things in black and white. That way there's no misinterpretation. Let them become insulting. Let them become bitter and bitchy and, go on their rants. It doesn't matter. They look like fools in front of the judge, because to the judge, it's just what is material? You got bent about the fact that a door was broken, that you broke, by the way. And when they said that they couldn't be there for a couple of days, you threw a hissy fit. That's what I want the judge to see. I want the judge to see, because our burden as landlords is safety. And that's our burden, is safety. We have to make sure the unit's safe. If it's a mission critical thing, we obviously drop what we're doing and take care of it. If it's a leak, right? Or if all of a sudden, like, a deck support went, these are the types of things that, yeah, we'll drop whatever we're doing. We're out there. We're going to get that thing taken care of for you. If it is, hey, the bedroom door is having trouble shutting. Okay. Like, while that might be the top of your list, it's not number one on our list. It's probably not even top 10, but we'll put it on the list. That way, when we get through the emergencies, then we start working through the non-emergent stuff, and we'll get there and we'll adjust the door. Usually what you'll find is it's something that the tenant did, something stupid the tenant did, where they broke the door, or they got in a fight and they were slamming it. Or when we buy properties, a lot of times they have hollow core doors, which I hate. I don't put hollow core doors in any of my properties. If you punch one of the doors that I bought, it's going to hurt you. And that's kind of the goal, is I don't want to have to replace a door, even if I get it to take it out of your deposit. I don't want the effort. I don't want the expelled energy to have to do that. And if you're going to punch something that doesn't belong to you, then yeah, if it hurts your hand, then cool, good. That was kind of the desired impact, is that I don't want to have to change out the door. Let's see. Josh, women's eyes can see more spectrums of light than dudes can. Yep. I watched a Discovery Channel show on this a long time ago and slept in a Holiday Inn last night. See, so now we know he knows what he's talking about. You want to go with a bright white. You don't want to go with off whites. You don't. It mutes the response back. Yeah. You really want good contrasting colors, and that ultra pure bright white, it definitely separates. Let's see. All right, Storms explains it. Yep. Hey, Key, good morning, sir. Sam Farrell, I understand market renters, Section 8 renters, and college student renters, but what are retired and municipal renters, and how do you find them? And what advantages do they bring? So, let's see. So retired, they don't want to move. So likely you're getting somebody that's going to stay put for quite some time, so long as the unit works for them. And if it worked for them year one, it's going to work for them usually year 10, unless there's some sort of like a major health change. They want no muss, no fuss. They don't want drama from, stupid other tenants. They don't want parking situation. They don't want hassle. And so what I'm looking for from that retiree is, they're also, because they're from a different generation and they're not such a bunch of, criers. If it's minor, they let you know about it, or they might even fix it themselves, but usually they'll let you know about it. And then they'll just be like, whenever you can get to it. And we get to them, but on non-emergent stuff, it might be a week or two. It's non-emergent. We're here to take care of emergencies. So that's the difference. And municipal renters, there's no place to target. Like, this isn't like a secret sauce where this is definitely the place that you go for that. It's much more understanding in the application process. When we create a pool of opportunity or a pool of renters, we like to have a mix of some of the people that are locals. Like, we have, guys on the fire department that are renters of ours. We have guys that are cops that are renters of ours. DPW officials, Department of Public Works. So yeah, we have people that work in the community because we want to be a part of the community. We want to service the community. We want people to know our name, and that's where reputation is important, but it's also a matter of taking care of your asset and taking care of people. Let's see. Robert Farinelli, looking to possibly put in a Section 8 tenant. Okay, how anal are they about their checklist? Pretty anal. Two concerns I have is not having smoke alarms on every level, including the attic. I don't know that they require it in the attic unless it's lived space, number one. Number two is they will look at the list, but have the inspector walk it. Every single unit that I have ever had inspected by Section 8 or housing has failed. Every single one. Now, here's the good news. Within 2 to 4 hours, every single unit I've had in a passing capacity. It's always something little. It's always something stupid and trivial in almost every case. And it's something that they'll come back and say, we want to see this change. We want to see this added. We want you to take care of this. We want you to add that. And then at that point, you can say, no, I'm not going to do that. And then they'll say, no problem. Then your unit does not qualify for Section 8. Right? So that's okay. The key is, Robert, in our state, you 100% never, ever, ever sacrifice credit score. That's the rule. You don't sacrifice credit score. And I don't sacrifice employment either. I have my criteria, which is 3x the rent and employed. 2 is, obviously there's exception to that. Like if they're on disability or SSI or Social Security, obviously that's an exception to that, but that still then has to be 3x what their responsibility is for them in order to financially qualify. Then still credit score. Credit score is very, 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 very important. Very important with housing tenants. Very important, because if they're getting the whole entire thing paid for them, the question is, do they have the money? Because I don't include utilities. I don't include heat. I don't include hot water. I don't include that stuff. Because in all likelihood, I have the average spend on Section 8 units versus a market rental is significantly higher. It can be 30 or 40% higher. Those are the numbers. Those are the facts in my portfolio. Not saying yours would be that way, but I'm telling you that's the way mine is. Joshua Koster, what do you do to understand your local economy? Joshua, that's a great question. Man, Josh is just bringing the heat every week now with great questions. What I do to understand my local economy. So believe it or not, I read my local paper. No joke. I look at my local paper. They're the ones that are breaking the stories. And do I care about the, XYZ Corn Festival? Don't care about that. What I do care about is the business pages. Are big companies shopping for a site, shopping for a location? Is there a building? Somebody looks at a building and they're like, man, that thing's been sitting there for a year and a half. Well, okay. A year ago, everybody knew who bought it and that they were going through planning to make it 70 units. Well, so if I'm going to put a business into those places, hold on one second. If I'm going to put a business into those places, I would love to know that I'm going to have 70 apartments 1 block away from me now. When I market my units, I have a couple commercial units, or more than a couple. I've got a few commercial units. When I market those commercial units, I know as much about the city. I also put them in charge of the person who's in charge of our local development, right? Planning and development office. I call them. And I ask them, hey, what new cool projects are happening on in and around, right? Or I give them an area and say, hey, are there any major, planned projects? But I read the local paper. I look at the local paper. I'm subscribed to it. It comes to me online. I get the headline every single morning and I look at it for a few minutes because that helps me better understand the local economy and what's going on and what's happening. We had a major announcement in our market where they shut down this massive campus for Liberty Mutual. They were one of the top 5 employers in the city. They're no longer. The cool thing is that they moved their people to another office that was only about 15 minutes away. So everybody now is just commuting. What it actually did was it made my life even better because now the people that were commuting 20, 25 minutes to Liberty now need to be in Dover because now they're 40 or 45-minute commute away, right? So it actually improved my standing and actually helped me. Then it's looking at the other businesses that are entering the town, entering the area. There's not always going to be an Amazon or a Boeing like Dion has where he is. And that's not a slight. That's just where he invests, right? And so where I invest, they're much smaller populations. They're 15,000 people, 18,000 people, 29,000 people, 3,000 people. So who are the employers in those areas? It's usually going to be a lot of industry that's more kind of closely aligned together. What's really interesting in our area is there's significant manufacturing. Sig Sauer firearms company, they have massive operations in our area, right? So the local paper is a huge help. Let's see. Hyder was in a Holiday Inn Express. It's still okay. He still knows. Ninja Vanish, good morning, sir. Robert Farinelli, also, if they find an area with a little bit of chipping paint that is the size of a tick, say it must be lead and make me spend $10,000 to fix it. They don't do lead testing. But generally as a rule, if you have something in disrepair, I would fix it. So even if it's, hit that with putty and then hit it with a white marker, or whiteout, something. That's really where you want to make sure that you're taking care of, stuff like that. Is you want to make sure that you're putting yourself in a position where they don't have lead tests on them. They don't do lead testing. But that's one of those things too, where I would be generally concerned in a unit that, you don't know that it has lead and you're not an expert. And so unless you test it, you don't know it. Once you know it, you're obligated to address the risk, I guess. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Wealth building journey. Your goals shouldn't scare the shit out of you. If they don't, you're not big enough. Case in point, Zuber is now less than 1,000 subs away from 50K, 162. I remember when he set the goal a year ago. It was longer than a year ago because I know that we talked about it. We talked about it like, I think it was 2 years ago. We talked about, because we've been doing stuff together for coming up on December is 3 years that we've been doing stuff together. But yeah, I think the key is though, is that the only reason I don't like that comparison is that there's nothing lost financially if he doesn't get to 50,000, right? And so that's not goals to me that are scary are ones that have a massive negative impact to me if I don't accomplish them. If I don't ever hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, it doesn't make a hill of beans difference to me. It really doesn't. I'm here for the landlords that want to do the work or for the investors that want to do the work. I'm here for you guys. I'm not here to get 100,000 clicks on a video. Not here for that. The stuff that my titles are boring. It's, hey, riches are in the niches, here's specific life examples. Those are things that are going to help landlords. They're not going to help passerbys click on the video. Oh my word, did you see? Nah, don't care. I write my stuff to specifically reflect, hey, this is what I'm going to teach you in the video. So I think that scary goals are ones that have massive negative upside or massive negative downside to them, not something that's just that you'd like kind of like to hit, right? That's my view of goals. And largely, my goal is do the next great deal. I don't have a goal for growth. I'm not like, well, I got to get to 150 or 170 or 200 units, or I got to buy my next one next year. You know what that might do? It might get you to buy a bad, shitty deal. That's not what I'm about. I'm about buying the great deal. If you enjoy, one of the things that, so Gary Vee and I are a lot alike. I'm second generation here. His kids are first gen here, but we learned a lot the same way from our parents. Our parents were over the top, super hardworking, would give us the space to let us think it, figure it out on our own. But one of the things that I think a lot of people miss is joy. And, if you love the process, if you fall in love with the process, then the result takes care of itself. And that's more where my focus is. My focus remains on focusing on the journey, focusing on the steps, not focusing on the end destination. A person with 5 units would say I'm very successful. A person with 50 units would say I'm very successful. A person with 100 units would say I'm successful. A person with 250 units would say, yeah, he's done pretty good. A person with 1,000 units would say, yeah, but why so small? Okay. Like, I don't take that as a slight. I don't take it as a slight because I'm not concerned with the size of the empire. I'm concerned with how well it runs, the profitability, the enjoyment of it. Dion, that's why Dion doesn't want 27,000 units. He likes 18. He might even downsize. Dion and I get along great. I'm not pushing him to grow his portfolio. I push him to do the refi just because it would give him even that much more cash to go something and do something more audacious. But he didn't. And he doesn't regret it. He still has a portfolio that he likes and he's happy with, right? So I think the whole goal setting thing is largely overrated. It sells a lot of books. It gets you a lot of clicks. It gets you a lot of swipes after 30 seconds or replays. But I think, again, at its core, my goal is to stay happy and enjoying what I do and to end up enjoying the journey and enjoying the process. And then if I do that, I get to a successful destination. It's about enjoying that process. That's what I want to do. I have plenty of joy. I get to spend time with my kids and my wife and do fun things and take fun vacations, albeit not as often as I would like, but that will soon change. But I get to enjoy the journey. I get to have fun. I get to have a blast. And, if it's 10 units for you, if it's 5 units for you, if it's 50, the key to it is reducing the stress, reducing the effort, reducing the, the bouncing around in your head thoughts, because those get eliminated when you know what you're doing. When you know what you're doing, I don't get concerned when somebody's like, I'm going to call an attorney on you. Okay. And I literally, even though they're texting me on the number, I text them my contact card. I'm like, you can just forward that to them. Let me know. Number one, that does 2 things. One, it might piss them off. I'm okay with that, because I'd love to have that call from the attorney. I'd love to get that email from the attorney. I've gotten a few emails from attorneys. I respond back, say, sounds good. Forward it to my attorney. I'm, sure he'll be in touch. Those are some of the cool opportunities that I think we have. And that's where, when you enjoy the process, when you enjoy the journey, you get 2 things out of it. You're going to end up with a good result when you enjoy the journey, right? I was watching, mistakes get made in construction. And, I've never been that guy screaming and yelling at the job site. I've just never been that guy. I'm just like, I take it in stride. I'm like, well, that's stupid. And I tell them, I'm like, well, you're going to have to fix it, right? Then they're like, oh, and I was like, hey, listen, it happens. Such is life. If it's the same contractor over and over again that makes that mistake, then guess what? They're fired. Like, you can't set yourself up and put yourself in a position where you're dealing with the same malarkey every single time. That's an indictment on the contractor, but it's more of an indictment on you that you're letting them stay. Dividend Dave saw lots of red trucks seen in Japan due to being REI minded. Okay. Okay. Shred, good morning. Semi-gloss till you die. Semi-gloss on the trim, because when you do semi-gloss, it's, so again, people look at it and like, I don't like how shiny it is. That's the high gloss. If you do a semi-gloss and you apply it properly, right? Do you know how easy that is for somebody to go in there with a magic eraser and clean it? You guys got to be thinking longer term, right? It's not just how it looks, it's how manageable it is, right? This is a major mistake that people make. They create management problems for themselves. You know, they create issues for themselves. If you create those issues for yourself, then you're going to be like, oh, my costs are so high. Oh, I have to repaint that every time. Oh, blah, 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 blah. These are the things that landlords that are in that 80% deal with all the time. They deal with them all the time. And it's because they won't get out of their own ways. And they haven't learned from somebody like me that says, yeah, I use semi-gloss. And again, just so you know, this isn't an attack on you, Shred, at all. This is just, you gave me a perfect speaking platform. I do the semi-gloss because the likelihood that I'm going to have to repaint it is very little. The likelihood that after a $250 cleaning for the entire apartment or $300 cleaning for the entire apartment, here's what I know. The likelihood that I'm going to have to redo anything is basically zero. That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. That's a big thing. Actually, it was 2 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it was only a year ago, but yeah, it was 2 years ago. I know, because he had a big growth spurt, I think from like, I want to say from like 30 to 30 or like 25 to 35,000 maybe. And then it slowed down kind of like 35 to 45, and then it ramped back up again. And so we all see like patterns like that in our growth. I'm the slowest growing YouTube channel out of all of us. But what I'm most proud of is that we're making huge impacts, right? We're making huge impacts in the courses, and we're helping the people that are trying to be investors, not just looking for a place to converse and have somebody post stupid stuff. I have a lot fewer haters because the only reason that you're here is to actually learn. Like, I'm not trying to say something spicy to get a 10,000 hit video. Don't care. You don't like me? You don't like money? You know, then you're watching the wrong channel. You don't have to like me, but if you like money, I'm the right channel to watch if this is what you're trying to do. Case in point, let's see. Case in point, Zuber's now less than 1,000 subs away. Oh yeah, sorry. That was yeah. Robert Fairnelly, even though 96% of the unit was paneling and unpainted trim and molding when I lived in it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like you can paint that, like the paneling doesn't look horrible painted. I have some units that have really high-end paneling. And so we painted them. It looks good. It looks really good. We still painted it the same color gray too. Wandering Doc, Dean is too fancy. Richard Gamino, great morning, Matt and everyone. Good morning, sir. Mark Ashiro, good morning. Mark Park. Hey, Mark Park. What is a good visual smoke alarm? The popular ones like Kidda have horrible 1-star reviews. A good visual smoke alarm? I'm not sure I understand, Mark Park. I use a lot of Kiddas and I use First Alerts. It depends on who has the best discount on bundles when I go to buy the next lot. They're largely the same. They're largely the same. And you hear this from a lot of manufacturers, right? Stuff like that is built to a spec. And so when something is built to a spec, then it's everybody's ability to manufacture that to that spec. And if it passes, then it passes and it meets that spec. So on something like that, that it has to meet a certain spec, that's where don't care. That's where I don't care about who the vendor is. That's where it's, so I like Kidda. I like, and I like First Alert. Those have both been good brands for me. Reasonably priced. Robert Farinelli. Apparently I need one in the attic because of the furnace. Oh, that's right. The furnace is up there. You need a combi up there. Yep. Tenant who reached out to me, who is Section 8, is a local teacher credit, is a little lacking because she shut down her credit cards a year ago. Yeah, I think that, yeah, it's a tough one. You know, when we start justifying and looking and trying to figure it out, that can be tough. I do like teachers. You know, I think that teachers need nice places to live, a place that they can come home. That's a really hard job. My mom was a teacher. So yeah, I am all about, I am all about that. But yeah, I think that's an evaluation process you kind of have to put yourself through. But yeah, I forgot that you had a unit. Anytime you have a unit in an attic, you must have something up there. And I wouldn't skimp either. I wouldn't do just a smoke. I would do a smoke combi just in case, right? Just in case there's a chase there. And if you have any gas in the building and anything comes up through, I would just want one there, a combi. It makes me feel a whole lot better just in case. My Serenity watching from Jamaica. Well, good for you. That's awesome. Sounds very nice. BF, when did you make your last real estate purchase? Please elaborate. Thank you. My last real estate purchase. Well, I'm under contract right now. I was supposed to close 2 weeks ago. It got delayed. I'm supposed to close. I don't know. I think we're supposed to close this week or next week. I'm waiting. Let's see. Joshua Coster, what is the difference in investing in small, middle, and large populations? Large populations, so I don't know because I don't invest anything over 30,000. There's usually a lot more inventory, right? Because it's usually correlated to size of population. There's a lot more inventory. Usually it's, I know everybody in all 3 towns building departments that are all 3 of the towns that have building departments that I work in. I know all of them. They all know me. I like that relationship, you know? So I think on the small and mediums, I think you can just be far more relational. Actually, not even in the mediums, like medium size ones, because I was in Manchester, it was over 100,000. They had like 37 inspectors at the time that did all sorts of different things. And I knew 2 of them, and the 2 that I knew were difficult at the very least to work with and to talk to. They were difficult. So I like small. I like small. You get to know the town, you get to know your people. You get to know, all the different inspectors, all the townspeople, city people, the inspectors. You get to know, really everybody, the water department, the planning department, the everybody. You get to know everybody. And I like that because I am relational and people are relational. And, I get given the benefit of the doubt with the building department because I've been doing it for over 20 years and because they've seen me and they've seen the number of projects I've done. They know me. They know that I'm a good landlord. They know that I take care of business. They know that. I get referrals. Literally, I've had a city people call me and say, hey, I know somebody looking for a place. Could I give them your info? Yes. Now, if I were a bad landlord, would they be doing that? If they didn't think well of me, would they be doing that? So me personally, I like small. Me personally, kind of like 30, 35,000 and smaller. I like that. I like that size. How many units do I currently own? 137. Our 137, and when we close, it'll be 145. 145. Yeah, 145. Yep. Richard Gamino. Concerning a 3rd bedroom, none qualified as a bedroom, what liability does the landlord have in putting or not putting a smoke alarm in it? I don't think I don't think that it's impossible to understand, right? So the challenging thing where you can get nailed, right, is you didn't know, or the insurance company becomes a super sticking point. They change the regulation. It's your responsibility to stay up to date with the regulation because they send you a new terms of service around your insurance and you don't do it. And then there's a problem. And then that gives them the ability to decline, right? So what I think is really interesting is that if it's something where it's safety like that, when we've gone through and we've updated a unit, we just add the smokes. We add the ones that they have to be hardwired by code. And so we just add the ones that you can mount right in the wall. You can basically bring a line up from an outlet and bring power to it. And that's what we do. And it usually costs, 75 to $100 for the electrician. And the thing usually costs $50. The alarm that can run hardwired off of an outlet like that. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's what I would do. That's what I would do. BF, I live for your show. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that, BF. Do you use semi-gloss on interior walls? I don't. So that's a great question. A lot of people say semi-gloss in the bathrooms. Ugh, I hate that. I think it looks so crappy. Nope. You know what you can do to put yourself in a better position? Put a high capacity ceiling fan in, one that's at least 150 CFM, if not 190 or 200 CFM. And it's just better. It's just better. You can also tint, non-microbial paint, like Kills and Zinsser and stuff like that. You can have that stuff tinted a color if you want, but I don't. In the beginning when I started, I did, and I hated the way it looked. It just looks gross. It just looks institutional. So yeah, so I don't do those. No. Do I use, the Kidder ones have constant false alarm? I can tell you they don't. Then go with first alerts. But there are millions, right? Look how many reviews there are there. Okay. So there were 300 people that said that they're constant alarms. They probably sold 10 million of that alarm. So do you think there might be a short in their system? That's what I would think. I think in their wiring harness, they probably have a short, which then causes that alarm to become a problem. So people often, this is where I think reviews are broken, right? If you see that, that somebody posted there that, there's a bunch of false alarms and that's 15% of the reviews, I would venture to say that, and they say, then people are like, well, that's 15% of the reviews. Do I leave reviews on every product I buy? No, I don't. And most people don't. What's the percentage of people that leave reviews? Maybe 10%? Maybe. And so what's the likelihood you're going to leave a bad review? Very high, right? People leave bad reviews. They don't very often leave great reviews. They leave horrible reviews. And so people are more negatively prone to leave that type of review. So that's where I think that one isn't, that's where I don't love that review process, is because it can absolutely skew numbers. Like I said, Kidder probably sells 10 million alarms a year, right? And I have, so if we do this, I have 137 units. I have somewhere around 500 bedrooms, 400 or 500 bedrooms. So I probably have, I don't know, 600 to 700 of those alarms, I would guess, 600 or 700 of them. They're mostly Kidder. I'm probably 80% Kidder, 10% or 20% or 15% first alert, or 18% first alert, and a couple percent of other stuff that's still in places I haven't swapped out yet. And I get a call once or twice a year that says, hey, there was a false alarm, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. So I haven't had any issues with my Kidda or first alert stuff. Hopefully that helps you. Smoke alarm with a strobe light. I don't get anything with a strobe lights. I get the ones voice activated. Strobe light doesn't do you, unless you're talking about commercial application, strobe light does you no good. It really doesn't. I mean, it just doesn't really do you any good, that strobe light. Unless, the alarm is great, but I rather have a voice saying fire, fire, or carbon monoxide detected, fire, fire, carbon monoxide detected, right? I rather have that than a strobe light. But if it's a commercial application, usually the strobe lights are usually in commercial settings, not so much residential, but it depends on what your local code is. How do you approach painting your exteriors in a wet climate? I don't live in a wet climate, so I don't know. It's just like anything else. Talk to three painters that are exterior specialists. They specifically spend all their time painting outside. I don't want an interior specialist painting outside. The exterior specialists, they're the ones driving around with 6 ladders on their truck or staging or whatever, and they live their life on ladders. Interior guys that do exterior as well, they spend a lot less time on ladders and usually are slower. So I want that exterior guy, but I would just reach out to 3 exterior guys, do a Angie's List, a Thumbtack, post an ad on Craigslist, post an ad on Facebook Marketplace, look in those areas. That's where I would look. That's where I would look. That's where I would, and I would get 3 guys to come out. Usually the idea is how close you can paint to when something has gotten wet. That's usually the thing that people are looking at. Joshua Melby, since you use the Defiant keypads, what do you use for a handle? I use those ones. Struggling to find an exterior door handle without a locking mechanism. Yep, most I've found are for closets, it seems. Yeah, so Defiant makes one. It's I think it's an interior exterior, and I think it's about 12 to 16 bucks. But that's what I use. That's what I use. Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. The ones without door locks on them are really hard to find, or with the knobs on them, and you defeat the purpose if you use those, because people will lock those out of habit. Not to be mean or nasty, but they'll just do it out of habit. REI Sterners, have you added a half bath to any of your units? Oh yeah, a dozen at least, if not 2 dozen. Who do you prefer to buy from, Home Depot or Lowe's? Don't have any preference. For me, it's where's the job, what's the location of one of those stores. That's the bigger difference for me. For a lot of my properties, Home Depot is closer, but they're more grabbing something that I need that we don't have on the truck, as an example. We used to make probably 20 to 30 trips a week to Home Depot, and now we make more like 7. And it's because we have a service truck that we put a bunch of material on, kind of the 50 things that most often occur for us. We now manage it that way. That's made us a much more efficient and productive business. And so the 7 times that we go are very often something that I order at night that I know we need for a project. I order it, so it's there and it's ready and waiting for them. Yeah. And then that way they can just pick it up on their way to the job site. All right, sir. Let's see. Oh, have you added half bath? Nope. Yes. Yep. Done. Like I said, 12 or 2. Pat Coleman, great content as always. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. Rezoning has boosted my returns way beyond what traditional development would have. Yep. Three subdivision and 5 ADUs in a hood north of Chicago. See that? Telling you. Riches are in the niches. These are little tiny things that the 80% aren't paying attention to, and you can be better. You can be a better investor than them. And the way to do that is by taking in my content. Obviously taking in content, generally speaking, on specific pieces, that you might not know about, but also skilling up, taking courses from guys that have done something for 20 years. They're going to be better at it than you. And largely they're going to be markedly better than you at it. And I guarantee you the lessons that you learn are worth far more than the $1,500. That's why a lot of these big names, they charge $10, $12, $15, $20,000, $25,000 for their courses. They charge crazy amounts of money. that means it's a profit-making thing for them. For me, it's not only about, it's about, yes, I have to cover costs for the business and so on and so forth. And I want to still continue to do great things for you guys. But I want to make it attainable. You know what? If you're serious and you know that in your journey of investing in real estate, that investment of $1,500 is going to save you time and time and time and time and time again. Robert Farinelli, he's been in the course. Joshua Coster, he's been in the course. REI has been in the course. The things that we have in that course are meant to bring you guys along to get you out of the 80 and into the 15. And then when you're ready to go from the 15 to the 5. Oliver. Hey, Oliver, do you provide 2 keys for every lock and 2 tenants on the lease agreement? I don't provide any keys. 0. I provide 0 keys, no keys at all. Robert Farinelli. So you don't use Benjamin Moore or a bath and spa and bathrooms? I don't. Nope, I don't. Nope, we've always just used the regular stuff. Robert Farinelli. I just switched to Kidda combo alarms after USI Electric. Yeah, I didn't like the USI stuff either. Was junk, and when one went off, the other one wasn't. Yeah, Kidda works no problem. Yeah, I've not had any issues with that. What trade career is the most helpful and compatible with RBI? Small business owner. Small business owner. Guys that own small businesses are usually get very good at REI. They usually get very good at REI. Yeah. As far as trades like electrical, plumbing, blah, blah, blah. The best one is plumbing. That's the best one. Yep. That's the best one by far. Electrical has booms and not busts, but they have booms and slowdowns. And that comes from, commercial projects and things like that. The plumbing thing is constant, right? Electrical doesn't break very often. Plumbing does. Clogs, frozen pipes. I feel like I'm one of those guys on the $1 million pyramid. Clogs, frozen pipes, things that a plumber would fix. Yes. How much fun do we have here on Sundays, huh? REI Sooners. My wife is epileptic. So REI, is that a response to the strobes? Yeah, because that's absolutely a thing too. Yep, that's absolutely a thing, right? That can cause a seizure. Yep. Oliver, when a tenant moves out, what do you normally deduct from the security deposit? Cleaning fee, carpet cleaning fee, chimney sweep fee? Never a chimney sweep fee. Never, ever, ever. Nope, never. We get it. So when they move in, it's been professionally cleaned. That's the standard, right? When they move in, it's been professionally cleaned. When they move out, it's going to be professionally cleaned. We just had somebody move out and the professional cleaners, it was $105. That's it. It was 3 people. They were there for an hour and that was it. So I'm not trying to withhold things that I'm not entitled to. So what we do is, and that's a direct cost. That way, if they're like, oh, this, that, and the other, hey, listen, here's what the cleaner's time spent there to get it cleaned. I didn't make any money off this. I'm giving you the bill for what it cost. And then other stuff like, holes in walls. They're like, well, that's normal wear and tear. No, it's not. No, it's not. Carpet's tough because carpet has a lifespan. Most small court claims judges will give carpet a lifespan of, 7 years. Some are less. I've seen somebody do 5, but I don't have carpet in any of my units. The only place I have carpet is the stairs. If they've heavily soiled the stairs or ruined the stairs, then yeah, I will charge them. I will charge them for that. Yep. Robert Farinelli, can attest the course has saved me more than the cost. Just more than the cost? Robert. Robert, do you need them in every bedroom? Yes. In Manchester, you just need 1 per unit. No. In Nashua, you can put them outside bedrooms if they are at least 5 feet apart. I believe Section 8 requires them in every bedroom. I believe that's the new Section 8 standard, is every bedroom. I don't know that to be true, but I believe that's the case. So yeah, so Oliver, cleaning fee, yes. Carpet cleaning only if they soiled them, but I have pictures of move in and move out and they can see that they soiled them. Chimney sweep, no. Like if they broke a window, if they broke a blind. And it's not just the thing that I'm replacing, but the time that it takes me to get it replaced. You know, so usually we're billing out at, I think we're pretty reasonable. I think we only bill out at $35 an hour. And again, we don't make profit. That's whatever it costs us is what we bill out. RIS owners, yes. Yep, cool. Look up, you retracted the message. That's all right. It won't keep me up at night like it does Dion. By Red Trucks, I saw lots of real estate places and found out my wife's cousin owns 20 units in Japan. Wow. Someday we want to move there. And when you're thinking of something, it tends to manifest. Okay. Yeah. It can be something that's you know, because for me, it's like my goal isn't to buy a house in Vegas. My thought is I'd like to own a house in Vegas. If I do it, great. If I don't, it's not because I didn't reach my goal. It's because I decided that I didn't want to do it. So that's where I think kind of the difference is. So I think positive thinking, I think being positive about your day, I think that improves your mood and everyone else's mood around you. And quite frankly, you know, there's not a whole lot that you need to be overly grumpy about. There just isn't. You know, it's like, it's just take it in stride. And if you learn how to take stuff in stride, man, you're going to enjoy the journey a whole lot more. It's just it's more fun, you know? So yeah, enjoy the journey, take it in stride. It's not, you know, it's not rocket science. It's not life or death. What it really is we're trying to curate a great experience for our tenants. And for that, they pay us a market fee. And so that's fine. You know, this weekend, I think what was really cool is, you know, as we're getting through a lot of these units and placing a lot of new tenants, because we're getting through them and we're spending our, you know, $7,000 to $10,000 to $12,000 to $15,000 on the units, depending on what level of upgrade we decide we're doing. Calls have dropped. Like I got rid of not all of them, but I got rid of a lot of them. And so I was saying last night, I'm kind of down to 5 idiot tenants. And they're not idiots because they're tenants. They're idiots because they're idiots. They happen to be tenants. And so two of them are going through eviction. One of them is gone. And so I really only have 2 left. I really only have 2 people that when I see them call, I'm like, oh, dear God, it's probably something small. It's probably something stupid. Robert Farinelli. Okay. More like 10 times the cost. Yeah. Better. Yeah. And because you stopped me from putting in an IBC for 15 to 20K and told me to just do a furnace swap at 5K from that one boot camp. That's what I was hoping for. And that's what I'm always hoping for. I'm always hoping that these little nuggets, as we talk through these things in the boot camp, it's me and 10, 12, 15, 18 other people where we're having active dialogue and conversation. That's really the key for me. That's really the key for us, is that you really start to learn and change some of the way that you approach some of this stuff and become a better evaluator at what needs to be done versus what you think should be done. Right. And that's really important. It's going to make you better. Let's see. Dividend Dave. At first, we'll get ourselves secured with units and become financially free here. You're right. It's a journey. Exactly. The other thing to do in Japan, too, is there are a lot of unlived in houses and homes in Japan, a ton. They don't understand the same concepts in Japan that they do here. You can usually talk to the local government and you can usually buy them for pennies on the dollar. So yeah, I've looked a little bit into Japan, believe it or not. I don't want to do it though. It's a beautiful country. Don't get me wrong. It's just for me and my time in life, I'm 46. I've got 3 young kids. Nah, investing in another country is not going to be my thing. Nope. I've got too big of a portfolio here. Let's see. All-nighter hider. I've got a buddy living in Japan. His family loves it. Yeah, it's a great place. It really is. I've got friends in Japan. Life is too short, LL. If you want a house in Vegas, buy one. You can afford it. If you don't, your kids will. Yeah, it's true. But they'll buy it with my money in all likelihood. Yeah, so I do want one. I think for me, I look at that market and so here's the thing. I'm in no rush to do it. And because it's only going to add a financial liability to the spreadsheet, it's not going to be an income making asset. Because of that, I can wait. I mean, I believe that Vegas, I still believe there's going to be a correction. I still believe there's going to be a correction, not a crash. I still believe there's going to be a correction. When that correction happens, I'm not looking for a 50% discount. But there are houses, there have been stories of people just saying, you know what, screw it, I'm done. And it's $1.5 million house and they sell it for $1.1 million. That's the kind of distressed deal that I'm looking for, because I'll put that deal together super fast. I'll get something that meets the needs of what I need, because I need a great deal, but a great deal on an asset that I would live in. So I'm not looking at just going, yeah, it's a great deal, and so that's why I'm going to buy it. I don't buy deals for just the sake of buying great deals. It has to fit the profile of what I'm looking for. But that's going to give me some capabilities, some abilities. And so, yeah, I will buy in Vegas. But again, for me, it's a little bit different because I got kids starting out their school journey, and summers, I don't want to spend summers in Vegas. I like to spend winters in Vegas. So like around winter break and things like that. So kind of like going out there for that, for that 2 weeks, that's what's fun to me. It's kind of chilly there too, but it usually isn't horrible. It's better than sub-zero here. Look up on change of use. Yep. What was it zoned? Is there a unit SF duplex on the property currently? Very interested in this procedure. Thank you. You're welcome. Look up. So this is stuff that I cover in the course, talking to just looking at zoning, understanding what your local zoning rules and laws are. Whatever city you're in, they have a zoning ordinance. It's online in almost every city in America. Download it, read it, look at it. There's a table of contents in there that talks about what the zoning is, and then you can look up the different permitted uses. This in particular property had a duplex on it. Yep, had a duplex on it. I literally am buying an asset on a street that on one side of the street, it's business district. On the other side, it's residential. How ridiculous is that? Now, here's the thing. I believe that when I go to look at a CUP, I believe that's an easy transition. If I have to go for a variance and have to prove a hardship, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. But I think it could be made because it's business. It's in the middle of business district. It's just one side of the street is and one side of the street isn't. But that's the type of thing that when you talk to city planning, they might say, yeah, we're looking to actually change that. Or we're looking to augment the type of zoning that's there, meaning that they might change some of those rules on that side of the street, right? But they'll change them on this side of the street as well, which still would, in all likelihood, gets me what I want. That's the key. So yeah, there's a duplex on the property currently. Robert Fahrenheit, declining population in Japan, so houses in rural Japan can be got for cheap. Yes, correct. As I am looking for a second home in Japan as well. Very cool. Wow, who knew there were all these Japanese investing wannabes on my channel? That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I've looked at that market. Like I said, I mean, if you want to live in the beautiful countryside of Japan, like, you can buy for pretty inexpensive money. The only thing, I'm not a big fan of flying, and I think it's what, 24 hours, Dave? You know better than I do. I think it's 24 hours from the East Coast. Japan's the new Gary. Yeah, I don't know if they have the Section 8 version in Japan. I don't know any of that stuff. So that would be the more difficult thing for me. Like with that shrinking migration and people moving to the cities and them being like left abandoned is because nobody actually wants to live there anymore. That's what I don't know. That's kind of, but just from an asset, just looking at the actual asset itself, the house itself, they're very attainable and you can do some cool stuff there. I can't get used to how small everything is though, right? Like my fridge is massive. My fridge is, 7 feet tall and 3.5 or 3 feet across. So yeah. BF, there is always a fire sale of one house, but I don't see Vegas entire market crashing. Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing is that the way that happens, BF, in my eyes, is it happens for the individual, right? It happens for the crypto bro who went bust on margin. It happens to the crypto bro that might have bought their house for cash. And now that's the only asset that they have. And they got to do that to, keep afloat maybe another business. It's the YouTuber who falls out of favor because there's plenty of YouTubers out there. Right. So it's really kind of looking, it's really kind of, I hear one of my kids upstairs, they're being an absolute banshee. I know exactly who it is too. It's Eliana. It's a little firecracker. There's a reason we call her firecracker. It's because she explodes. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, so I think that it's just about being opportunistic. It's the same thing with buying an exotic car, right? So the exotic car market's down. I can buy something now for a 10 to 15% discount, maybe 20% discount. But we're seeing some cracks in the armor where where you can see an occasional deal where it's just like, damn, I can't believe it sold for that. Well, it's because the guy had to sell, right? And so it's like, man, if I can get that. So I'm seeing some of those pops at 30. So what I'm looking for is that range, because a second property is a less disposable asset than a fifth car or fourth car. And for guys that drive Lamborghinis, that's not their only car. That's one of 3 or 4. You guys ever watch MTV Cribs? But it's usually the third or fourth or fifth car. So that's where the opportunity is for me, where I think that right now it's 10 to 20%. You can see them coming off down at, and then you see one pop at 30 or 25. What I think is it's going to get to 20. I think the range is going to go from 10 to 20 to 20 to 30, and then you're going to see one pop at 40. And that's where I strike, because then I can get, instead of buying a Huracan, I can buy an Aventador, so then I can trade up in a model. Because I'm not buying a Gallardo. Drove it, and honestly, it's basically an Audi with a different shell. Didn't love the Gallardo. From East Coast. Okay, Chester, from East Coast is about 18 hours. My cousin went to Japan a few months ago. National Fort Worth. Okay. National to Fort Worth. Okay. Fort Worth to Haneda. Okay, 13. Okay, very helpful. Yeah, so about 18 hours. Yeah. Yeah, so 18, 20 hours. Ugh. I think if I'm ever on a plane that long, it's going to be doing the trip my wife wants to do with it, which is Australia. That's what it's likely going to be. Look up. Okay. Thank you for your expertise. Yeah, my pleasure. Look up anytime. Yeah, look at that zoning stuff. That zoning booklet, there's one on the page, right? And so believe it or not, that's one thing that I do on every listing I look at. Every listing, I look at what the zoning is. And it's like, oh, this is RM10. Okay, interesting. I'm not going to ever get anything more out of this. This is RM12. I'm not going to get anything more out of this. And the interesting thing is zoning is not guaranteed city to city. It changes. So that's where you have to become an expert in your local market. That's where it's really important. BF, I hope you're right. I'm ready to buy. Exotic BF or another house. Dividend Dave, my Japanese wife says there's something like Section 8 in Japan, but it's different than US, which means it's probably competent. You're not wrong. It probably is competent. Although I don't really know that we need to be taking a bunch of financial lessons from Japan, whose spending is 125% of GDP. But I immensely respect the Japanese immensely. Why do you only carpet stairs? Because I use an 8-pound carpet and an 8-pound carpet pad, and I use a high, what do they call that? Hold on. Brain cramp. Nap. Didn't even have to look it up. So they use that high piling carpet, and that drastically reduces the noise between units. So that's why I always do that. People that finish them in wood stairs, guess what? Every morning your neighbor gets to wake up when you wake up, because no one is quiet on wood stairs. Nobody ever, ever, never, ever. So I always use 8-pound carpet pad, which is pretty resilient. And then I buy a good quality carpet, so it wears well on the stairs, and then I don't have an issue. That seemingly works out pretty well. See, do you hear my little banshee? She just opened up the door to the door. And now she's just making a bunch of noise. Oh, you just got back from Japan. Okay, how many hours was it, Dave? Dave, share all the information. Jeez. And BF, you didn't answer my question. Ready to buy an exotic or ready to buy another house? That was the tribe coming down the stairs like a bunch of banshees. It's clearly swim time. Oh, it actually is clearly swim time. It's 1:05. All right. If you guys have any other questions, hit me up now or forever hold your peace. The lost decade of the late 80s, mid 90s. Yep. Japan is where they had to do a lot of innovation to stay alive. Yep. The gaming industry owes its gratitude to Japan. Yeah, for sure. For sure. It was really funny, right? Because in the 80s, in that Japanese management style, right? You have all those movies that were coming over and then, quote unquote, taking over. And so it was, gung ho and the movie Black Rain and talking about the Yakuza and all that other stuff, right? And then it disappeared in the 90s, completely disappeared. And then you started seeing a lot of the Chinese stuff. Yep. A lot of the Chinese stuff. I always find that interesting, seeing what the trends are. But yeah. Terry Flib, are you going to Vegas for Zuber's party? Yes, I believe so. I believe so. I don't know. He doesn't know when it is yet. He has to hit 50,000 and then he starts planning. I'm interested to see how he does it because he's closed on his Vegas house. So I'm just very interested to see how he does it. I think that it's so funny. It's like, I teased him. I was like, I think you bought the Vegas house just so you had a place to stay for your event. What I'll do in all likelihood is, I'll probably make it a family trip in all honesty, because we probably won't go. I might fly out just because I think it'll be a weekend. So I might fly out for the weekend, but I don't fly out to the weekend to Vegas. I don't fly out to Vegas for a weekend. I don't enjoy 6.5 hours or 6 hours on the flight to get out there for 2 days. So usually anytime I go West Coast, I usually try to be there for a week. Yep. Just enough to make the flight worth it. I think that's what Dion's doing too. I think he's here for a week, which I'm hugely excited about. Wealth building journey. Yes. Lean Six Sigma. Yep. Kaizen, Kanban. Yep. Very powerful management and QA, QC methods. Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Six Sigma. Oh, Six Sigma. And then there was another one too. What was the other one? Six Sigma. That's the one that gives out. Yeah. That's why it gives out the belt colors, right? Yep. Right. Yellow belt, green belt, yellow belt, purple belt, or green. Yeah. Whatever the order. Purple. Was it green, purple, yellow, blue, brown, black, something like that. And then the degrees on the belt. Yeah. Yep. Corporate America. Corporate America. Exactly. Yes. Cool. Well, you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you guys. Hopefully today was helpful. For those of you in my course, you guys are doing a great job. I see the updates. And I saw some questions posted. I'm going to get to those tonight. I didn't do them last night. And Friday night was sick Friday night and didn't do them last night because I did the boot camp. But I saw some questions posted there. I'll get there today. Again, if you're a real estate investor, you're probably in the 80%. Do what you can to get to the 15. Maybe it's my course, maybe it's another, but invest in yourself, get out of that 80, because that's what's going to give you better profit. That's what's going to give you better operations. That's what's going to give you more peace of mind. That's what's going to give you the ability to scale more easily. Don't be in that 80%. You can do better, and the access is there for you guys to have it. Sean Connolly, last question. I have a house that has been under contract for 6 months now due to a conversion. Okay. Is there anything besides the final walkthrough on closing day that I should be doing since it's been so long? If there's tenants in there, I would get an updated estoppel, meaning tenants. An updated estoppel is estoppels are documents that show tenant contact information and current on rent and rent amount. And all of it's basically tenant information. And then making sure that they're up to date. So I would look up what you can look up an estoppel online, and what's available are allowed in your state, but you can look at those. So I would do that, and I would do the walkthrough. Yep. I would also, if you got an inspection on it, I would refamiliarize yourself with the inspection, and then look at anything that was maybe water spots or anything that was cautioned in the inspection. I would just take another quick peek at it, because if it's further deteriorated, is that the opportunity to go back and go, okay, now I'm not closing and blah, blah, blah. Maybe. So yeah, that's an option. But yeah, I would refamiliarize yourself with the inspection report, and that will put you, and that would put you in a better position when you rewalk it. But yeah, walking it and then an updated estoppel. Has everybody remained paying rent once they found the house was out for sale? Once they found it was under contract, did they keep on paying rent? Have there been issues since then? That type of stuff. So, yeah. So hopefully you guys have a fantastic week. Thank you, Chester, Wealth Building Journey, for putting the link to the course in there. There's the link. Read the syllabus. I'm not saying buy the course. I'm saying read the syllabus. If those things are anything that you're struggling with or that you believe you can get better at, then consider the course. But if you know all that stuff inside out and cold, I can't help you. If you're a lead at all that stuff, I doubt that I can get you much better. But yeah, take it out, check it out. Sean Conley, you're welcome. Chester, you're welcome. Thank you again for all the time. As I always say, we try and create great content for you. Please make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And if you haven't subscribed, why not? It's free. Best value on the internet right there. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I will see you in the next one. Oh,